Hi, everybody. How are we doing? We're doing all right. I know it's the end of the day, so I'm going to try and make this really energetic and share a lot of good, engaging content with you. It sounds like some of the discussions today that were had in German, which unfortunately I don't speak, so I wasn't able to be part of it, will really lend well with what I'm going to speak with you about for maybe the next 20 minutes or so. So I am Deann Harvey. I'm the VP of EMEA for Sizmek. Sizmek, for those of you that aren't familiar with us, we are a global independent advertising technology company. We're focused mainly in the digital space, so that's really where we spend our time. And really, the conversation that we're going to have is about the road to relevance. And really, when we're talking about the road to relevance, I view relevance as content, right? So the relevance is content, and the road to relevance is really about how do we reach our consumers, how do we reach our audience with the right content to have the best impact that we can possibly have and have the most engaging experience with these consumers. And really, we see this road to relevance as the multi-screen journey. And so when you think about the multi-screen journey, we really need to think about our audience. And what we know about our audience is that one size does not fit all. So our audiences are spending time with a lot of different devices. They're spending time with a lot of different media. And really, to reach the audience, we have to think differently. And so, our audiences today, they're a little bit different than maybe, us. So they're born digital. We have this lovely picture of this little baby here. But if you think about it, the children that are being born now have a digital footprint before they're even born. So, their parents are putting pictures of their ultrascans on the internet, right? So they have a digital footprint from the absolute very beginning. And if we think about toddlers as well, so those that are coming up now, you think about writing a letter to Santa. That's something that I loved to do when I was a child. I couldn't wait to tell Santa how great I had been all year and all the presents that I wanted. Well, even writing letters to Santa have changed now. And you can see an example up here of a letter to Santa that was actually tweeted to the North Pole with an Amazon URL written out by the child, right? So what we know is that, the times are really changing. And, granted, we're not really targeting these people yet, right? We're really targeting their parents. We're targeting their older brothers, their older sisters. And what we know about that generation is that if you take a look at the image on the screen here, multi-screening is a part of their daily routine. So this is what they do every day, right? So this is what teenagers are doing, people in their 20s, 30s, 40s. It's what all of us do. We multi-screen every day. So when we're trying to target these audiences, what we need to think about is the context in which we're reaching them, right? What device are they on? What content are they searching? So we really need to think about the context. And what we also know is that we're all screen addicts. So we all spend a lot of time in front of our screens. And actually, in Germany, the stat is that you'll spend 23 years of your life in front of a screen. So that's a pretty big amount. And what it means from an advertising perspective is it gives marketers a fantastic chance to reach people, right? So we have the opportunity to really reach people. But we need to think about how we're reaching them, right? We need to make sure that we're relevant. We need to make sure that we are reaching people in a relevant and an engaging way on all of these screens. So to do that, really, you need to add digital to the mix, right? But it can be pretty confusing. It can be pretty overwhelming. You can see up here we've got a lot of different acronyms. MOV, XML, API, ACR for second screening, right? There's a lot of acronyms. There's a lot of talk in the industry, and it can really seem overwhelming. So our favorite acronym is WTF, or what the fuck. It's the end of the day, I can say that, right? So, it doesn't need to be as confusing as it's made out to be. And so, what we recommend when you're thinking about, okay, how do I go multi-channel? What do I do? We really recommend that you think about partnering with somebody that has an open system, that's very innovative, that has a lot of reach, because reach is going to be really important in this. So that's something that you need to keep in mind. And when we think about reach and we think about scale, the first thing we always think of is linear TV, right? Because TV is absolutely the best way to get the reach that you need. It's absolutely the best way to reach on a mass scale. But what I will say is that we don't believe that TV is the first screen anymore. So while TV is extremely important, and it's a cornerstone of a lot of plans, it's no longer the first screen. And the reason being, we have all these other devices, right? We have all these other devices that are taking up our time. And so we really need to be thinking about multi-screen campaigns. And the good news is that a lot of marketers already are. And as a matter of fact, in 2013, 20% of all marketing campaigns had a multi-screen element. So this is good news. We're getting on the right path. And we know that by 2016, this is going to raise to 50%. So they have a multi-screen campaign. They have a strategy that goes across multiple screens. So this is something that we see as encouraging, though we'd love to see it move even quicker, right? And as part of this multi-screen campaign, we firmly believe that you need to have mobile in the middle, that mobile needs to be in the middle of what you're doing. And the reason for that is pretty simple. So if you think about mobile. I don't know about you guys, but my partner doesn't love this, but this is what I do first thing in the morning. So before I say hello to him, I'm checking my email, right? And I think that's how most of us in this room probably are. It's also the last thing that we do at night. So, on these mobile devices, this is where we're spending our time. And as a matter of fact, we're actually checking them 150 times a day. So we're spending, throughout the day, 150 times we're checking these devices. And in terms of total time that we're spending with them, it's actually 2 hours and 21 minutes. So it's a lot of time. So what are we doing on these devices? Well, some of us are taking selfies. This is something that we spend a lot of time doing. And I wanted to bring this up just because I think it's pretty interesting. The Oxford Dictionary actually added selfie to the dictionary last year. So it's now a term in the Oxford Dictionary. The good news is they did add the caveat that posting a new picture of yourself every day isn't necessary, though I don't know that people actually take on to that. But what we know is that besides posting selfies and doing that and checking our email, that this is our most trusted device, right? This is where we're spending the majority of our time. And so, as marketers, we really need to be thinking about mobile first. And from our perspective at Sizmek, that's one of our mantras. That's kind of one of our ethos, mobile first. This is where we're spending a lot of our time. And when I say mobile first, it can mean anything, right? It could mean in-app advertising. It could mean web advertising. It could mean video. There's a lot of opportunities within mobile. But what we do know is that this term is pretty misleading, right? So I say mobile, I could be talking about your phone. I could be talking about tablets, phablets. I mean, there's all these different devices that could be considered mobile. So again, it goes back to, from a relevance perspective, we need to be thinking about the context, right? And we need to think about what the consumer is actually doing on that device. Because at this point in time, we're absolutely in the middle of a changing landscape. And we need to make sure that we're catering to that and that we're thinking about that, because there are screens of all different sizes, right? And people are using them in different ways. So this is really, really important. So one of the things that we've developed and that's happening within the industry is that we have responsive ads. And so what a responsive ad is, and you can see this moving here, my lovely video. So a responsive ad actually on the fly as it's delivered detects the device size and make sure that the ad is delivered, or the content, if it's your website, is delivered at the most appropriate size, right? If we're talking about video, which is something I'm going to spend a little bit of time on because we think this is really important from a multi-screen perspective. If we're talking about video, it will detect what device are they on. Are they on a tablet? Is that tablet over 3G? Is that tablet on Wi-Fi? And they'll serve the appropriate video based on, again, the device. So responsive ads are something that's really important, and responsive websites are something that we're seeing more and more of now. So I mentioned video, and really we see video as one of the great intersections with mobile and with this new device change, with these new devices that people are using. So you can see a great graph up here. What you should take away from it is it's going up. And what this is it's global mobile video data consumption. So within just a few years, as consumers globally, we're going to consume over 7 million terabytes of data that's video related on mobile devices. So this really means that we need to be very focused on what we're doing from a mobile advertising perspective, but from really a video advertising perspective on mobile. And again, it makes sense. So going back to that consumer, right? Going back to the consumer, video's taking over. This is what we're doing. This is what we're consuming on the go on our tablets. And the saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, the way we look at it, the saying should now be, a video is worth 1,000,000 words. right? So the content is engaging, and it's what we're choosing to spend our time on. And it really is something that we're doing kind of on the go. So I wanted to bring up a business case, right? Everybody remember Blockbuster Video? Yeah, this is where you used to get your video on a Friday night. You'd sit around the television with the family and watch. Well, they closed their last US store in 2013. So they closed their last US store. And what's taken their place? Netflix has taken their place, right? And the reason being that Netflix saw the change in the consumer habits, saw the change in the technology, saw the changes in the environment, and really adapted to that. So you can get your Netflix on any device. You can stream it, you can download it, right? So they were very responsive to this new multi-screen world, and they're running a very successful business now because of it. So we know that, businesses are changing, right? We also know that marketers are starting to change. And we did a survey and we saw that 73% of our advertisers said that they have increased their spend in online video, which is great. So they are seeing the change and they are increasing, right? But not only are advertisers changing and marketers changing, but even publishers are changing. So the BBC in the UK has actually taken BBC Three, their channel, offline. It's no longer offline, it's now online only, right? So they've moved that entire broadcast station to digital only. And that's really based on the fact that their consumers are a target audience of 16 to 34, and they know that that's where they are, and that's how they're gonna be successful. And we see it even with that audience of 16 to 34s. Teenagers used to have TVs in their bedroom, they don't anymore. They now have tablets. So the number of TVs in teenagers' bedrooms in Germany has dropped down to 52% from 69%. So it's really even changing in the household. And it's really becoming much more personal. So we're spending our time really watching more so alone, right? We're watching in our bedrooms. We're watching on the go. We're watching on the train, on the way to work, and the content is really personalized. And that's something that we're seeing reflected in statistics as well. So these are screen viewing times for watching alone. The gray bar is 2012, the blue bar is 2013, and there's a couple interesting things here. So you can see just really the increase from desktop, tablet, smartphone, other screens. So we're really changing our consumption habits of video. So as marketers, we need to respond to that and change how we're delivering content back to consumers and really trying to engage with this audience. The unfortunate thing is that even though marketers are increasing their spend online, a lot of times what we're doing is we're just taking that 30-second spot and we're throwing it online and hoping for the best, right? So we say, oh, we have a multi-screen strategy because we took our TV ad and we put it online. But what we know that's really not the right path, and that's not the path that's gonna work, because video should be more than just awareness, right? More than just that 30-second spot, right? We need to make sure that the content that we put, the video content that we put on these devices is relevant and it's engaging, right? Because our audiences are seeking out that content on different devices. We need to respond and give them content/advertising back that matches that. And so we can take advantage of things that we've been doing in the digital industry for a while, right? We can do targeting, we can do retargeting, we can do semantic targeting, we can do behavioral targeting. All of this can happen with video on these different devices. And what that means is we'll stop wasting impressions, which really means we're wasting money. And that's what's happening a lot of times today is we're making the shift and investing more in digital video. And some of the ways that you can do this with interactive video, right? So you can see the video playing up here. There's buy now. There's the ability to interact with the advertising, get more information, right? And it makes sense because the consumer is in a device and working with a device that they're used to interacting on. And when we do this interactive video, we actually see a great increase in site visits. So we see a 70% increase in site visits when interactive video is added to the mix versus just taking the linear TV ad and putting it online. So this is something that we feel really passionate about at Sizmek, that this is something that more marketers should be doing and should be taking advantage of. And I'll give you one more example of interactive video. And this one is actually, I wanted to share this with you because it was the 30-second TV spot. So what they did was they took the 30-second TV spot, but then they overlaid elements of social. And social is something I'm going to spend a few minutes on next because it's an important part of this multi-screen mix. But they took elements of social, the Twitter feed, the Facebook feed, and put that over the video, giving the consumer the choice to interact with that. So there's a lot of ways that this can be done that are pretty simple, but really make sense to the platform that the consumer is on. So, when we think about social video, there's Vine. We call this the Costco Titanic. If you want to watch them roll by, they're doing the Titanic. But, if you think about something like Vine, consumers are watching 6-second videos that their friends post, right? So as advertisers, why don't we put 6-second videos online? It would make sense, right? It would match that experience. And social video is becoming more and more prolific with Vine, with Instagram video, with Snapchat. So this is something that's just going to continue to grow. And it's very much embedded, in the fabric of our lives, right? This is what we're doing. This is part of that 2 hour and 20 minutes that we're spending on our phones. When we're posting our selfies, we're posting them on social networks. And social is really reaching at scale, and it's doing it very quickly. So thought these were some interesting stats with you, just to share with you to show how quickly social is reaching scale. So it took radio 38 years to get to 50 million users. So 38 years, it's a pretty long time. Now it took TV only 13 years. So that was something that was significantly increasing in pace. TV was adapted much quicker. It took the internet 4 years to get to 50 million users. So you can see that the trends in technology they're being adopted at a much more rapid pace. But it only took Facebook 9 months to get to 100 million users. So we know that this social growth is going to continue, and that technology is going to continue to get adapted at quicker and quicker paces. Social is also the #1 activity on the web now. So it's actually overtaken porn. So this is something that, from a marketing perspective, we really need to be paying attention to the social space. And the growth in social networking is, really continuing to happen. So let me go back here. Nope, we're not going to go back. So there's a beautiful chart that I was going to share with you that just showed that consumers are accessing social networks via all their different devices, and it's increasingly becoming tablet and mobile. So, we talked about video, right? We've talked about video and social, and we've talked about social, but we really see these as areas that are gluing together this multi-channel experience, and these are areas that marketers can take advantage of today to really make sure that they're executing against a multi-channel strategy. So, if you want to reach your audience, this is really how you have to do it, right? And this is really the channels that are available to you and the mediums that you're able to use. But, there's a few other things that we can do in digital that haven't been available in the linear TV world that you can layer on to these different, to social, to video, to make it much more effective. So we really see data as, the tunnel of our industry. So there's a ton of data that's available and a ton of data that you can leverage when you're executing on these screens. So you're really able to leverage this data to start playing a much more intelligent game of guess who. So when you're trying to target your consumers, when you're trying to understand the right creative to put in front of them, when you're trying to understand where to reach them, there's a lot of data available to help you do this. And it is really important because one of the things that we need to be careful of and make sure that we're doing in digital and across these multiple screens is that we need to make sure that we're meeting our consumers and not bots, right? So that we're actually reaching the consumers that we're trying to and that we're never compromising our brands. And the compromising of the brands does happen, and I'll show you an example of one. So, this is a New York Times. There was an ad, and this is an actual example, that ran for Apple, one of the best brands in the world, right? Ran on the New York Times. You can see it's for the iPod Air. It's in the ocean. It's, it's beautiful. It's everything it should be. But it was served near content about a jet going down in the ocean, right? So this is something that, you certainly don't want to have happen to your brand. And it's something that is very easy to control, mostly in the linear TV world, right? And it's something that's becoming easy to control in the online world. So you can use things like semantic technology, so you can understand what the content is on a page, look for content on that page, and either not buy it if you're using some sort of real-time bidding technology, or you can block it so your ad isn't served on it. Because we really believe that advertiser protection is the key, and these intelligent products really exist today to help you do that. So, verification. So that really goes to, was my ad served? Sorry, guys. Was my ad served in the right environment? Was my ad served where I wanted it to be served? There's also things like viewability, which makes sure that your advertisement was shown for the right amount of time. So viewability is really important. Semantic technology, I talked about a little bit. So there are a lot of different products that are available from a technology perspective to make sure that as you're expanding and going into this multi-channel world, you're making sure that your brand is safe and that you're reaching the right audience. There's also dynamic creative. So dynamic creative is something that's really important, something that's extremely important as you're going through and targeting consumers across different devices in this multi-channel funnel. You're able to make sure that you avoid creative fatigue, that you're serving new creative, that if you're doing interactive video, if somebody has already interacted with the video prior, you're serving up new content in that interactive video unit. So there's a lot that you're able to do. And with dynamic creative, you're able to make sure that you're really, again, going for the most relevant consumer, relevant creative, and you're serving them, things on the fly that you're not able to do really in the linear TV world. So put this quote up here. I love it, and I think you can even say we need to stop thinking about marketing in general, and we need to start thinking about marketing in a digital world, right? So I've shared a lot of stats with you about, about consumers, about kind of what our habits are today, about what we're doing. And we really need to start to think about, okay, when we're putting the consumer in the middle, when we're thinking about all the different devices that they're interacting with, are we actually serving up the right type of creative? Are we creating the right kind of content to reach them? And are we using all the technology that's available for us today? Because when you start to do that, and when you start to get really relevant, as we've been discussing, and you use the intelligent type of technology that's available for that, your ROI will increase. And that's, ultimately what we're all looking for, right, is an increase in ROI. And so, at Sizmek, the way we look at it is we want one platform that engages across all channels, all screens, and all media. And that's it. Thank you.